For over a century, we have looked at the surface of the North Atlantic with fear. We've counted the ships that never came into port. We've listed the planes that dropped off the radar. We called it the Bermuda Triangle, a graveyard where the laws of physics seemed to break down. But while we were staring at the waves, searching for sea monsters or portals, we were looking in the wrong direction. Because the real mystery isn't what's happening on the water, it's what is hiding underneath it. Scientists have just confirmed the existence of a massive, unexplained structure buried deep beneath the island of Bermuda. It is a geological anomaly so strange, so unprecedented, that it has forced researchers to rewrite the history of the Atlantic Ocean. It's not a volcano. It's not a standard tectonic plate. It is something entirely new. And it might finally explain why this specific patch of ocean is unlike anywhere else on Earth. To understand the gravity of this discovery, we first have to understand the stage it's set upon, the Bermuda Triangle. It's a name that has become synonymous with the inexplicable, roughly bounded by Miami in Florida, San Juan in Puerto Rico, and the island of Bermuda itself. This geometric patch of ocean covers approximately 500,000 square miles of the open Atlantic. If you look at a shipping map today, you won't see a dead zone. In fact, you will see the opposite. This is one of the busiest crossroads of commerce on the planet. Every single day, massive container ships, cruise liners, and commercial flights cut through the heart of the triangle. Most make it through without a scratch, but the ones that don't, they leave behind a legacy of silence that is truly unsettling. Let's look at the case that truly started the legend. March 1918, the USS Cyclops. This wasn't a small fishing boat. This was a 542-foot collier, a massive steel beast of the United States Navy, carrying 11,000 tons of manganese ore. It was traveling from Brazil to Baltimore. The weather was mild. The captain, Lieutenant Commander George Worley, sent no distress signal. There was no report of enemy submarines. And yet, between one day and the next, the Cyclops simply ceased to exist. 306 crew members and passengers vanished. It remains the single largest non-combat loss of life in U.S. naval history. No wreckage was ever found. Woodrow Wilson, the president at the time, said, "Only God and the sea know what happened to the great ship." Fast forward to December 5th, 1945, Flight 19. 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers take off from Fort Lauderdale for a routine training run. The weather is decent, the pilots are experienced, but as they enter the triangle, confusion sets in. The flight leader, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, reports that his compasses are going haywire. "Both my compasses are out," he radios. "I'm trying to find Fort Lauderdale. Everything looks wrong. Even the ocean doesn't look as it should." Think about that last line. Even the ocean doesn't look as it should. They flew until their fuel tanks ran dry. A rescue seaplane, a PBM Mariner, was sent out to find them. It also vanished. In a single afternoon, 27 men and 6 aircraft were erased from the map. For decades, these stories led to wild theories: aliens, Atlantis, time warps. But in the last few years, geologists decided to stop looking at the sky and start looking at the floor. Specifically, they turned their attention to the corner of the triangle that bears the name Bermuda. Geologically speaking, Bermuda shouldn't be there. If you look at the Pacific Ocean, islands like Hawaii exist because of a hotspot. A plume of magma from deep within the earth punches through the crust like a blowtorch. It builds a volcano. The tectonic plate moves, the volcano is cut off from the heat, and it dies. Over millions of years, the island cools, erodes, and sinks, becoming an underwater mountain or a seamount. Bermuda is different. It is sitting on top of something called the Bermuda Swell. This is a massive section of the ocean floor, roughly 900 miles long, that is lifted significantly higher than the surrounding abyssal plain. The volcano that formed Bermuda went extinct over 30 million years ago. By every law of geology, the island should have subsided. It should have sunk beneath the waves eons ago. But it hasn't. It's still rising. It's as if something is pushing it up from the darkness below. To figure out what was holding Bermuda up, a team of researchers from the University of Maryland and other institutions tried something radical. They couldn't dig 400 miles down, so they used sound. They treated the earth like a giant bell. When a massive earthquake strikes anywhere on the planet, Japan, Chile, Alaska, it sends seismic waves rippling through the earth's interior. These waves travel at different speeds, depending on what they pass through. They move faster through cold solid rock and slower through hot molten material. By placing seismic stations on Bermuda, scientists created a 3D map of the world beneath the island. It's essentially a CT scan for the planet, and the image that came back was startling. They found that the transition zone, the layer between the upper and lower mantle, located about 250 to 400 miles deep, was inconsistent. Beneath Bermuda, there was a disturbance, a colossal, coherent layer of rock, roughly 12.5 miles thick, that didn't match the surrounding mantle. This structure is unlike anything found elsewhere. Normally, the mantle is a convecting, swirling soup of hot rock, but this layer was distinct. It was a stalled slab. Here is the leading theory. This isn't a fresh plume of magma rising from the core. This is a garbage patch of the Earth's history. Researchers analyzed the chemical composition of lava samples from deep drill cores on the island. They were looking for isotopes, atomic fingerprints that tell you where a rock was born. They found that the rock beneath Bermuda was strangely rich in water, carbon dioxide, and zinc. These are not elements you typically find in the deep, pristine mantle. These are elements you find on the surface of the Earth, in the ocean crust. This means the rock holding up Bermuda was once on the surface. It was part of the ocean floor. This allows us to construct a timeline that is almost impossible to comprehend. About 300 million years ago, the supercontinent Pangaea was forming. All the land masses of Earth were crashing together. During this violent collision, massive slabs of the Earth's crust were shoved downward, subducted deep into the mantle. Bermuda sits roughly where the seam of that supercontinent used to be. The theory suggests that a massive slab of this crust sank down, carrying water and carbon with it. But it didn't dissolve. It got stuck in the mantle transition zone. It sat there for millions of years, a frozen graveyard of ancient rock. Then, as the Atlantic Ocean began to open up, disturbances in the mantle disturbed this slumbering giant. It began to rise, but because it was full of water and carbon, it was lighter than the surrounding rock. It rose up and stalled just beneath the crust, freezing in place. This created a buoyancy trap. Think of it like a beach ball held underwater. It wants to float. This massive, low-density rock formation is literally lifting the ocean floor up, creating the Bermuda swell and keeping the island from sinking. So we have a unique geological engine beneath the waves, a frozen piece of Pangaea. But does this explain the vanishings? Does this rock reach up and grab airplanes? Not directly, but geology dictates environment, and the environment of the Bermuda Triangle is designed for disaster. Because of this unique topography, the high shelf of Bermuda dropping off into the Puerto Rico Trench, the deepest point in the Atlantic. The ocean currents here act in violent ways. This region is the highway for the Gulf Stream. This isn't just a current, it is a river of warm water within the ocean, moving faster than some rivers on land. It flows at about 5 to 6 miles per hour. That might sound slow, but in the ocean, that is a torrent. If a plane crashes or a ship sinks here, the Gulf Stream acts like a conveyor belt. It sweeps wreckage away from the crash site immediately. By the time rescue crews arrive 12 hours later, the debris field could be 60 or 70 miles away, buried under shifting sediments. The geology creates the perfect conditions for vanishing without a trace. The underwater topography also contributes to the formation of rogue waves. In the triangle, storms from the north collide with the warm Gulf Stream from the south. When big storm swells hit a fast-moving current head-on, the wave height can double in an instant. This is called constructive interference. Satellites have confirmed that the area south of Africa and the Bermuda Triangle are prime breeding grounds for these freak waves. We are talking about walls of water, 80 to 100 feet high, appearing in otherwise manageable seas. A ship like the Cyclops, heavy with ore and sitting low in the water, could be snapped in half by a single rogue wave before the crew even knew what hit them. And then there is the gas. The seabed in this region is rich in methane hydrates, frozen pockets of gas trapped under high pressure. Some physicists have proposed that underwater landslides triggered by the steep slopes of the Bermuda pedestal could release this gas. If a massive bubble of methane ruptures and rises to the surface, it turns the water into a frothy mix of gas and liquid. This reduces the density of the water. A ship floats because it is less dense than water. But if the water suddenly becomes foam, the ship loses buoyancy. It drops like a stone. It's a rare phenomenon, difficult to replicate, but mathematically possible. Finally, we have the magnetic anomaly. For centuries, sailors complained that compasses spun wildly here. This was one of the scariest parts of the legend. The truth is, the triangle is one of the few places on Earth where the agonic line has passed. This is the imaginary line where true north, the North Pole, and magnetic north, where the compass points, align perfectly. Usually there is a variation between the two that navigators have to calculate. When that variation disappears or shifts erratically, as it does near magnetic anomalies, an inexperienced navigator can get disoriented. In 1945, Flight 19 didn't have GPS. They were flying on compasses and watches. If their compasses were even slightly off due to local magnetic variations, they would have flown further out to sea when they thought they were heading home. The Bermuda Triangle remains a place of fascination, not because it is supernatural, but because it is a perfect storm of natural forces. Below, you have the remnants of supercontinents pushing the crust skyward, creating a landscape that shouldn't exist. Above, you have the collision of hurricane alleys and the strongest ocean currents on Earth. We fear the triangle because it represents the unknown. But as science peels back the layers of the Earth, we are finding that the planet itself is far more dynamic and far more powerful than we ever gave it credit for. The mystery isn't that ships disappear. The mystery is the incredible, turbulent story of the Earth beneath them. The ocean covers 70% of our planet, yet we have mapped more of the surface of Mars than our own ocean floor. What other anomalies are waiting down there in the dark? If you want to join us as we uncover more secrets hidden in the world's most dangerous places, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. And do me a favor, if you enjoyed unearthing this mystery, hit that like button. It helps us navigate the algorithm and brings more content like this to you. Thanks for watching and stay curious.